Welcome to the Code Burner audio podcast presented by Black Maelstrom Media. Now, without further ado, we bring you episode 2, Cloud 9. Abrams quickly whips out his disruptor, but before he can trigger it, the hefty figure kicks the assault weapon from his grasp. The bounty man rolls with the attack, spinning and then jumping into the air to deliver an even harder kick of his own. But before he could set up to block the next attack, Abrams was fast on his burly opponent, delivering a blow to his jaw, sending the giant crumbling to the ground. Deriding his adversary, the colossal man taunts, "Is that all you got?" Rising effortlessly from Abrams' assault, he dismisses the threat and triggers a disruptor concealed within his brass knuckles. Swiftly, he accelerates to unleash a fatal strike on the Code Burner. The assault inflicts excruciating disruptions to Abrams' digital simulation, causing the Code Burner's form to convulse violently and phase in and out of the virtual reality world. The giant, with a menacing growl, announces, "You're finished, Code Burner," courtesy of the Unholy One. Abrams, struggling desperately to maintain digital cohesion in the VR world and holding off another attack from the Unholy One, he managed to activate his combat armor, designed to augment his abilities and safeguard his virtual existence. In the nick of time, a surge of energy coursed through his veins as his armor materialized, its sleek black metallic form enveloping him in a protective shell. Glowing purple eyes pierced through the darkness of the virtual realm, signaling the Code Burner's AI had been activated, ready to assist its host in this battle. With his armor's power coursing through his veins, Abrams summoned his billy club, propelled by an unseen force, landing firmly within his grasp. A surge of electricity crackled through the weapon, its power pulsating with anticipation. Abrams, aided by the armor's enhancement, surged toward his opponent, his speed blurring the lines between reality and simulation. The billy club became an extension of his will, a conduit of his formidable power. With each strike, a blinding flash of light illuminated the dungeon cell, accompanied by the deafening crackle of electricity. The hulking adversary, caught off guard by Abrams' sudden surge of power, found himself overwhelmed by the relentless assault. His disruptor, once a threat to Abrams' virtual existence, lay shattered, its disruptive signal neutralized by the armor's countermeasures. As the billy club struck again and again, an electric field materialized around the hulking adversary, encasing him in a prison. His screams of agony echoed through the dungeon, punctuated by the rhythmic thrum of the billy club's energy surges. Seizing the opportunity, Abrams motioned to the young woman, his eyes conveying a silent message of urgency. With the path cleared, they made their escape, leaving the defeated adversary trapped. The bounty man retrieves his weapon, activates it, and forcefully thrusts it into the giant's face. The mighty strike knocks the Unholy One into a lifeless state, allowing time for the Code Burner and the young woman to make their escape. While sprinting beside the woman through the long corridor, he pondered his recent deeds. Within this VR world, Nineveh 263, better known as Cloud 9, which is what the underground club was commonly referred to, as there were absolutely no restrictions on any kind of aberrant conduct or illegal activities. The real world and the virtual world stood as diametrically opposed planes of existence. Many argued that virtual reality emerged as a direct response to the overly regimented nature of reality itself. The prevailing viewpoint was that virtual reality provided an escape from the constraints of an overly controlled, heavily governed, and cancel culture world, dominated by obsessive rules and laws. Here, morality had no place, and there were no prevailing principles or regulations to adhere to. This world may be virtual, but its consequences spilled over into the real world. In the event that someone's simulation is terminated within the digital realm, there's a high probability that their synapses will cease functioning, primarily due to the overwhelming distress and perceived trauma associated with the experience of dying in a virtual world, leading to any number of neurodegenerative disorders. On the streets, this is simply referred to as a mind fuck. System administrators are responsible for safeguarding their VR world, but not all administrators are responsible administrators. Knowing the danger, these so-called outworlders still congregate anywhere that allows you to sit or lay unconscious, tethered to a saline drip and a virtual reality world of your choosing, as long as they have sufficient funds in their account. Abrams' thoughts quickly drifted to a recent encounter with another individual 2 assignments ago. As they made their way to the open area, Abrams' thoughts quickly drifted to a recent encounter with another individual 2 jobs ago. In that situation, his only viable course of action had been to terminate the simulation and eliminate the VR avatar. When Abrams transitioned from the virtual world to the real one, he found it was a boy just on the cusp of his teenage years, who had been controlling the avatar Abrams was tasked with eliminating. The boy, now in a coma, owed his condition to the actions of the bounty hunter, Abrams kept telling himself. This young man had managed to breach the security system's safety protocols that governed access for underage users. He had created an overpowering avatar and wreaked havoc within the VR realm known as Odyssey Annihilation 002. In order to safeguard the people he was paid to retrieve, Abrams had been compelled to terminate the boy's simulation. There had been no alternative. Nevertheless, that boy is someone's child, and even that kind of loss inflicted an indescribable pain. Abrams knows that feeling all too well. But before his mind can further drift back, he refocuses and picks up the pace down the corridor. His Inferno program persisted in its methodical incineration of Cloud9's code. Even within a mid-level virtual world like Cloud9, military-grade firewalls stood seemingly impervious to breaches. When it came to mastery of computer code, there was no one quite like Abrams. He willingly left a high 6-figure position as the lead software designer at Axiom Industries to help people instead of being an enabler. The allure of escaping reality had disseminated like a virulent contagion throughout the real world. Abrams knew that people were prepared to pay any price and go to any extreme in order to assume virtual identities and lead fake lives that deviated from their own reality. All it required was creating a character, any character, within any virtual world, and there were hundreds. Then watch minutes effortlessly stretched into hours, hours into days, and days into weeks. The grip of addiction to this fabricated existence was as palpable as any hardcore street narcotic. Working for Axiom, Abrams witnessed his digital creations being twisted and turned into the most pernicious addiction known to humanity. And he felt compelled to dismantle the systems he had once helped build. Instead of crafting worlds that enslave people, he now liberated these same individuals from their inevitable descent into despair. The consumers had turned into the consumed, and he vowed to save as many souls as he could. But for now, Abrams found himself simultaneously grappling with 2 critical tasks within Cloud9. First, he initiated a virus that systematically dismantled the original programming, effectively burning its code line by line, expelling all users, and resulting in the virtual world's complete obliteration. However, the true challenge lay in locating the young woman in the real world. To accomplish this, his second program methodically traced the digital signal of the avatar back to its source code, ultimately unveiling her physical whereabouts. His locator hack tirelessly scoured the digital landscape, diligently working to pinpoint her exact real-world location. While conducting a search and rescue operation in the virtual realm posed its own difficulties, the prospect of executing the same mission in the real world presented an entirely distinct set of challenges. Just then, in the midst of their escape, A disturbance started brewing in the corridor behind them, with the distant sound of the massive figure breaking free, unleashing loud, earth-shaking screams. The unholy one survived, and is on his way. Abrams couldn't help but hear it, and it was a chilling reminder of the threat the evil man possessed. Abrams had managed to hold him off, twice now, barely. What would be the result of a third encounter if the hack wasn't ready? In that fleeting moment, the bounty hunter allowed himself a fragment of relief. The unholy one's resurgence signified a lifeline in the virtual world. It meant that, regardless of the absolute darkness and cruelty that might have characterized him in Cloud9, there was a real, living person on the other side of that avatar. However, this moment was short-lived, for it all hinged on the success of Abrams' hack. Their very lives hung in the balance. Once the virtual world's administrators caught wind of what he was doing, he and the girl were as good as dead. The administrators possessed the capability to strip away the safeguards on their avatars, and without those safeguards, if they were to die in Cloud9, they would fall into a coma in the real world. And Abrams began to feel a growing sense of unease as time ticked away, stretching on for far too long. He couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something had gone wrong. With the young woman by his side, they came to a sudden halt in their tracks. It was clear that Abrams needed to inspect his hack more closely. He delved into the data streaming across his wrist device, and to his surprise, he detected the presence of an electric field of some sort. This field obstructed his locator's ability to pinpoint the girl's location in the real world. Now he had to shift his focus from virtual reality to what was happening in the real world, or his mission, his target, his life could come to an end. Thank you for listening to the Code Burner podcast, written and produced by Maurice Cardwell for Black Maelstrom Media. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a comment. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.